So as we have to clarify right at the beginning, the Supreme Court didn't say that birthright citizenship doesn't exist anymore. However, they did say that in order to not have the unconstitutional executive order apply to you, individual groups or classes have to sue. So that is to say, the judge that said this is unconstitutional, it only applies to the people who sued to make sure that happened. And as we know, newborns whose parents weren't born in this country are really great at joining class action lawsuits.
I mean, we teach them young.
And this is good. The GOP famously loves class action lawsuits. They think they're good. They like class action. They like lawyers who generally they like lawyers. They like when they get together and people get together to do these class action lawsuits.
For sure.
Elon Musk has several tweets about how the Democrats are the party of class action lawyers and they're the enemy. This has an effect that they don't like and will not want and will try to make harder for people anyway.
I do think this will gum up our already gummy judicial system. It is scary. I understand the argument. I see the argument that, okay, executive orders have become a more prominent feature in our system over the last 20 years with more recent administrations. Hard to get things done with Congress being as split as they are. But that being said, the ability to issue an injunction while we figure out the legality of things allows for people to not have their lives totally upended over something illegal, which is what's happening now. This is madness.
Right. Both parties, to be fair and balanced, both parties have expressed some disdain for nationwide injunctions. Obviously, the GOP loved them when Biden was in office and he wanted to do student debt relief. But it's very, of course, obvious and telling that the Supreme Court waited until now to make a ruling saying the nationwide injunctions are a no-go, and not always. Only if there is a more narrow way you can give relief just to the people who sued, then you should. And if that's not the case, then you can still do a nationwide injunction. And I would argue that the birthright citizenship executive order is very much like that, because something that is blatantly unconstitutional will apply to everyone. It actually applies to all of us, because how are any of us citizens other than the fact that we were born here?
And that's why this one is specifically so confusing for me. I understand that there is a number of cases right now, nationwide injunctions that have been holding, and this is kind of a test case. I saw somebody discussing whether or not this was a calculated move on their part to bring this specific case before the Supreme Court and be able to bring up the issue of halting nationwide injunctions. But this one specifically feels worthy of a nationwide injunction. What do we have? After this piecemeal, this state, it's okay if you're born here, you're a citizen, this state, you're not? What does this even mean? This is if there is one situation where that should apply, it's this one.
Yeah, Leah Littman brought this up a month or so ago on this show, that because birthright citizenship is in the Constitution, no judge is going to subscribe to the Stephen Miller theory, we hope. A bunch of class actions are going to go through, and every district is going to eventually say, no, you get relief from this. And I think that is what the Supreme Court is hoping, that they can give Trump this win, but the unconstitutional stuff is still not going to go through. But of course, we don't know that. It does leave open the question that birthright citizenship, despite it being enshrined in the 14th Amendment, could just not apply because Trump says so.
Do we think that that's likely?
I mean, in this case, and again, I'm going with some of the optimist analysts that I read, they're saying that if birthright citizenship itself made its way to the Supreme Court, they would say it's in the Constitution, can't do anything about it. I mean, after reading some of their rulings the last few days, I'm not positive about that. And he can still say He could say, no more criticizing Trump on a podcast, and then we immediately have to join the suit with Majority Report and, everyone else.
Right.
And Rachel Maddow to say, like, well, no, that's a blatant violation of the First Amendment, but it holds until we do that.
Right.
It's absurd.
That's what's so terrifying. And to your point, that was a leading question of, do we think that this would actually happen? You asked me a month ago, I would have had a different answer. I would have been more confident in my answer. But as of right now, I feel like anything could happen. And I don't mean to be fear mongering but it just this.
I don't think it's unreasonable to think
that
they.
Why would you make that executive order if that wasn't your goal that you're pushing for?
There's no world where they're not trying to do all the things that we're worried that they're trying to do. Like they telegraph it. I mean, I guess there is a world where like reality is different, but like they talk about it all the time. We know who he is. We know what the entire movement is about. We know what Stephen Miller wants to do. Like we know what this Supreme Court is like allowing them to do already. I wanted to address. I don't think it's fear mongering of you to like be like, yeah, they like this is possible. I would rather overstate dangers than not think they're going to happen.
I feel it. I know people at home feel it. Existential terror all the time, fear. So I don't love to pile onto that, but we have to be aware of the reality and the possibility.
Yeah, and be like realistic and honest and stuff, and like don't go lay in the sun. Don't freak out. Don't lay in the sun. But like,
are you telling me not to go touch grass, Cody?
I didn't say don't touch grass. I said don't lay in the sun.
Well, how am I supposed to touch grass without exposing my back to the sun? God damn it!
Put on a jacket. Put on a hat. Put on a mask, and like get your like fingerless gloves, and the tips of the fingers can touch the grass.
And those will get burnt.
Not if you do it quick enough.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I hate this because every time one of these rulings comes out, the next thing is, and in a blistering dissent, Sonia Sotomayor writes, and we're supposed to be like, yeah, you get their asses, you say the thing that won't matter. But both Sonia Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson wrote different things to try to, I think, appeal to the better nature of the other justices, which is not going to happen.
Or they blistering?
The other side in general. So Sotomayor says, no right is safe in the new legal regime the court creates. Today, the threat is to birthright citizenship. Tomorrow, a different administration may try to seize firearms from law-abiding citizens or prevent people of certain faiths from gathering to worship. Now, look, one, the Democrats would never do the gun thing. And two, they would stop it immediately. I think we all know very well that this stuff will not apply to anything that a Democrat in office would attempt to do.
Especially with such a fuzzy, just the fact that certain times a nationwide injunction will stand and other times it's not appropriate and you have to, whatever, individual lawsuits. Of course, something like a gun ban taking away people's guns would not stand. This would be considered.
Nor should it. It is.
Nor should it.
That's
Just like with
thing.
Citizenship, it shouldn't.
Obviously, that ain't happening, and we all know the Democratic Party, and we all know how these things go. But you want to give an example that is like counter to like what they want. You want to point out that like, well, guess what? If you have a different president in like a couple of years, then it's the shoe's on the other foot and so on and so forth. But obviously, like, come on.
No, I think it's a perfectly appropriate example to make your point. But the reality of the situation, especially with the Supreme Court makeup being what it is.
Well. So this is what this is referring to. I think is really when. So after Trump dies somehow. And then J.D. Vance becomes the president, and then they change the Constitution so that you can become the president if you weren't born in America, so that Elon Musk can be the vice president, and then Elon Musk becomes the president, and then we get President Mamdani, and then he's going to take all your guns,
right?
And then this is going to be a problem.
That's the idea, is that eventually we get President Mamdani, and 5 specific people all die within a span of 6 months, and who's the leftiest lawyer ever who would get put on the Supreme Court? I don't know.
Peter from 5'4".
Peter gets on. Peter and Rhiannon get on the Supreme Court, and then you guys are toast. So if all of the things that you think are bad happened, that would be bad. I just don't think it's